Commander Zefak of the Galactic Defense Coalition stared at the tactical display with growing unease. The human ship had been broadcasting surrender signals for the past 10 minutes, but something felt wrong. In his 40 years of military service across 12 different species conflicts, surrenders usually came with demands, negotiations, or at least some attempt at bargaining for better terms. This human vessel simply repeated the same message. We surrender, requesting permission to come aboard your flagship. Sir, his communications officer called out, her 4 arms working frantically across multiple control panels. The human vessel is powering down all weapon systems. Their shields are dropping to minimum defensive levels. Zefak's scaled hide rippled with nervous energy. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only 3 years, but in that short time, they had earned a reputation that made even the most experienced commanders cautious. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and had an unsettling tendency to turn disasters into victories. "What's their crew complement?" he asked. "Scanners show approximately 200 humans aboard, sir. Standard coalition frigate configuration." "And they're all surrendering?" "It appears so, sir. They're requesting to send over a single representative under standard surrender protocols." Zefak consulted his tactical database. Human ships had never surrendered in recorded galactic history. They had been destroyed, they had retreated, they had even self-destructed rather than be captured, but surrender? This was unprecedented. "Sir," his tactical officer interjected, "we should consider this might be a trap. Humans are known for unconventional tactics." The commander's thoughts drifted to the Battle of Kepler Station, where a single human destroyer had somehow convinced an entire Krillian battle fleet to retreat by doing nothing more than broadcasting random mathematical sequences. Or the incident at the Vega mining colony, where human colonists had ended a 6-month siege by throwing a party and inviting their attackers to join them. "Open a channel to Admiral Thorne," Zefak ordered. "She needs to know about this." The holographic image of Admiral Thorne materialized on the bridge. Her reptilian features showed the same concern that Zefak felt. "Commander, I've been monitoring your situation. What's your assessment?" "Uncertain, Admiral. This could be genuine, but human behavior patterns suggest we should be extremely cautious." "I agree. However, surrender protocols are clear. We must accept their representative if they're genuinely laying down arms. But I want every precaution taken. Full security detail, scanning for weapons, the works." "Understood, Admiral." 20 minutes later, Zefak stood in his ship's primary docking bay, surrounded by 24 of his best security personnel. Each one carried enough firepower to level a small building. Motion sensors, weapon scanners, and biometric analyzers covered every inch of the bay. The human shuttle was small, designed for maybe 6 occupants at most. As it settled onto the deck, Zefak noticed something odd. The shuttle's design was completely standard, nothing modified or unusual about it. No hidden compartments that their scanners could detect, no unusual energy signatures. The shuttle's hatch opened with a soft hiss. A single human stepped out. He was tall by galactic standards, probably around 2 meters, with the pale skin common to humans from colder planets. His hair was brown, cut short in what Zefak had learned was a military style. He wore a standard coalition uniform, with the rank insignia of a captain. What made Zefak's blood run cold was what the human carried. In his hands was a weapon unlike anything in the coalition database. It was clearly human-made, about 1 meter long, with a design that somehow looked both primitive and incredibly advanced. The metal gleamed with an inner light that seemed to shift and move as Zefak watched. The human took 3 steps forward and then stopped. He looked directly at Zefak, made what humans called a smile, and then did something that sent shock waves through every alien mind present. He gently placed the weapon on the deck and stepped back. "I am Captain Marcus Chen of the human vessel Perseverance," he said in perfect galactic standard, As agreed, I come to formalize our surrender. Zephak's security team immediately raised their weapons, training them on both the human and the strange device he had carried. The energy readings from the weapon were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Their scanners couldn't even properly categorize what they were looking at. "Captain Chen," Zephak said carefully, "what exactly is that device?" The human's expression didn't change. "It's called the Peacemaker. My people developed it specifically for situations like this." "What does it do?" "Right now, nothing. It's been powered down and secured. As I said, we surrender." Zephak felt his twin hearts racing. Humans had just introduced a completely unknown weapon technology and then immediately deactivated it as part of their surrender. This was either genuine capitulation or the most elaborate trap in galactic history. "Sir," his science officer whispered urgently, "the energy signature from that device is off the charts. Our computers can't even process what they're detecting. It's as if the weapon exists in multiple dimensional states simultaneously." The human seemed to hear this and nodded. "Your science officer is correct. Human technology has advanced significantly since we joined the coalition. The Peacemaker represents our latest achievement in quantum warfare applications." "Quantum warfare," Zephak repeated. "The ability to affect matter at the subatomic level across vast distances. The Peacemaker can theoretically disable any electronic system within a light-year radius by quantum entangling with their core processors and creating cascade failures." Every alien in the docking bay went silent. A weapon that could disable ships across interstellar distances was beyond anything in their comprehension. "And you're just surrendering it?" Zephak asked. "My orders are clear, Commander. Humanity has decided that continued resistance is futile. We're placing ourselves at the mercy of the Coalition's justice system." Zephak's communicator chirped. Admiral Thorne's voice came through, tight with urgency. "Commander, we're detecting massive energy readings from the human weapon. Our entire fleet's instruments are going haywire just from being in proximity to it." The human captain heard this as well. "I should mention, Commander, that the Peacemaker is still connected to our ship's quantum network. Even though it's powered down, it maintains a baseline link to our vessel's systems." "What does that mean?" "It means that while the weapon itself is harmless right now, it's still technically active in ways your science might not fully understand." Zephak felt a chill run down his spine. The human had just told him that their super weapon was still connected to their ship, even while surrendering. Was this a threat, or simply information? "Captain Chen, I need you to be completely clear about your intentions." The human's expression became serious. "Commander, 3 days ago, my ship received orders to test the Peacemaker against Coalition forces. The test was successful beyond our expectations. We disabled 6 of your patrol vessels without firing a single conventional shot." The bridge went dead silent. Zephak remembered the reports from Sector 7. 6 ships had suffered simultaneous system failures and had to be towed back to base. They had assumed it was a computer virus or some kind of electronic warfare attack. "That was you?" "Yes. But in doing so, we learned something important. The Peacemaker doesn't just disable ships. It creates permanent quantum links with every system it affects. Right now, we have quantum access to every ship, station, and facility that has ever been touched by Coalition technology in this sector." Zephak's worst fears were being realized. The humans hadn't just developed a superweapon, they had created something that could potentially take control of the entire Coalition fleet. "So why surrender?" he managed to ask. Captain Chen picked up the Peacemaker again, and every weapon in the docking bay immediately tracked his movement. "Because, Commander, humanity has realized something important. We don't want to conquer the galaxy, we want to join it properly." "I don't understand." The Peacemaker could disable every ship in the Coalition fleet within minutes. We could take control of your communications, your navigation systems, even your life support. But what would that accomplish? Fear? Resentment? A galaxy that hates and fears humanity? The human held the weapon out toward Zefak. Instead, we're giving you this technology, freely, along with all the technical specifications for how to build defenses against it. We want to prove that humanity can be trusted with power. Zefak stared at the offered weapon. You're giving us your most advanced military technology? Yes, because true peace can't be built on the foundation of one species being able to destroy all the others. It has to be built on trust, cooperation, and mutual benefit. But what if we use this technology against you? Captain Chen smiled again. Then you'll discover that humans are very good at adapting. We've already begun work on the Peacemaker Mark II. It works on different principles entirely. But we hope it will never be necessary. Zefak's communicator erupted with urgent calls from Admiral Thorne and the rest of the fleet. Every ship in the task force was detecting the quantum signatures that Captain Chen had described. They were all potentially compromised, yet the humans were offering to fix that vulnerability. Captain, this is unprecedented in galactic history. No species has ever voluntarily shared their most advanced weapons technology. That's because no species has ever been in humanity's position, Commander. We're the newest members of the galactic community. We have everything to prove and everything to gain by proving we can be trusted partners rather than feared enemies. Zefak looked at the weapon being offered to him. It represented power beyond imagination, freely given by a species that could have used it to dominate the entire galaxy. There's one thing I don't understand, Captain. Why make such a dramatic gesture? Why not simply approach us diplomatically with this offer? Captain Chen's expression became thoughtful. Because, Commander, sometimes actions speak louder than words. Any species can claim to come in peace. But how many would disarm themselves and offer their enemies the means to defend against their most powerful weapon? And if we had decided to simply take you prisoner and reverse engineer your technology? Then you would have learned that the Peacemaker is only part of the equation. Without the quantum encryption keys, which are stored in the minds of specific human personnel, the weapon is just an extremely sophisticated paperweight. Zefak realized he was dealing with a level of strategic thinking that went far beyond simple surrender. The humans had created a situation where the only way to truly benefit from their technology was to work with them willingly. You've put us in an interesting position, Captain. I prefer to think that we've created an opportunity, Commander. An opportunity for the Coalition and humanity to build something better than what either of us could achieve alone. As Zefak finally reached out to accept the weapon, he realized that everything he thought he knew about human behavior was about to change. This wasn't surrender in any conventional sense. It was an offer of partnership, backed by a demonstration of power that was as generous as it was terrifying. The moment his scaled fingers touched the Peacemaker's surface, his communicator exploded with chatter from every ship in the fleet. The quantum links that Captain Chen had described were real, and they were everywhere. Humanity had just proven they could have conquered the galaxy. Instead, they had chosen to offer it salvation. Admiral Thorne's emergency council chamber buzzed with urgent conversations in 17 different languages. Representatives from every major coalition species had gathered within 6 hours of Captain Chen's surrender, and the atmosphere was electric with tension and disbelief. The humans have essentially held a weapon to the throat of the entire galaxy, declared Ambassador Crix of the Alteran Empire, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. And then they claim this is an act of peace? That's exactly what makes it so terrifying, replied General Voss of the Terran Colonial Defense Force, the only human representative present. My species has just demonstrated that we could have conquered you all and chose not to. How do you respond to that? Fleet Admiral Murgon of the Cetacean Alliance made a series of complex sonic patterns that the translator rendered as, "The tactical implications are staggering. Every ship, every station, every defensive platform we have is potentially compromised. Our entire military doctrine may be obsolete." Admiral Thorne had been studying the technical specifications that Captain Chen had provided along with the Peacemaker. The more she read, the more her understanding of the strategic balance shifted. According to these documents, the quantum entanglement process is reversible. The humans are offering to sever all existing connections and provide us with shielding technology to prevent future infiltration. "At what cost?" demanded Ambassador Crix. "There are no free gifts in galactic politics." General Voss leaned forward. "The cost is partnership. Full integration of human colonies into the coalition governance structure. Technology sharing agreements, joint research initiatives, cultural exchange programs. You want full membership rights in exchange for not destroying us?" Ambassador Crix's color shifted to a deeper shade of red. "We want to belong." General Voss replied simply, "For 3 years, humanity has been treated as junior partners, barely tolerated members of the galactic community. Our applications for research grants are denied. Our proposals for trade agreements are ignored. Our requests to establish colonies in the inner systems are repeatedly blocked." Admiral Thorne felt an uncomfortable recognition. Humanity's complaints were valid. The established species had been reluctant to fully embrace the newcomers, viewing them as upstarts who needed to earn their place over decades or centuries, not years. "So you developed a superweapon to force the issue?" Fleet Admiral Murgon's sonic patterns carried undertones of accusation. "We developed the Peacemaker because we were afraid," General Voss admitted. 3 years of being outsiders, of being dismissed and ignored. We started to wonder if the only language the galaxy understands is force. "And now you've proven that theory correct," Ambassador Crix observed coldly. "No," General Voss shook his head. "Now we've proven that theory wrong. Force would have been using the Peacemaker to disable your fleets and dictate terms. Instead, we're offering you the weapon and asking you to trust us." Dr. Helena Vortex, the Coalition's chief xenopsychologist, had been quiet during the debate. Now she spoke up, her tentacles writhing with excitement. "From a behavioral standpoint, this is unprecedented. No species in recorded galactic history has ever voluntarily surrendered military advantage for social acceptance. Which is exactly why we should be suspicious," Ambassador Crix insisted. "Abnormal behavior suggests hidden motives. Or it suggests that humans process social dynamics differently than other species," Dr. Vortex countered. "I've been studying human cultural patterns since they joined the Coalition. They have an unusual emphasis on what they call earning respect rather than commanding it." Admiral Thorne activated the central holographic display, showing a real-time map of all Coalition forces. Red indicators marked every ship, station, and installation that showed signs of quantum entanglement with human systems. The display was overwhelming. Nearly 30% of Coalition military assets were potentially compromised. "The scope of this infiltration is beyond anything we've ever encountered," she said. "If the humans had hostile intentions, we would already be conquered. The fact that we're sitting here debating their membership application instead of fighting for survival suggests their offer is genuine." General Voss accessed his personal communicator. "I'm receiving updates from Human Command. They're reporting similar quantum readings from our own networks. Apparently, the Peacemaker's entanglement effect works both ways. Human systems are just as compromised as Coalition systems." This revelation sent new waves of discussion through the chamber. The humans had created a weapon that left them vulnerable to exactly the same kind of attack they could launch against others. "Mutual assured destruction," Fleet Admiral Murgon observed, "but with instantaneous effect rather than weapons delivery." More like mutual assured cooperation, Dr. Vortex corrected. If any species attempts to use this technology aggressively, they expose themselves to immediate retaliation. Ambassador Crix's color had shifted to a thoughtful purple. You're suggesting the humans have created a weapon that makes conventional warfare impossible? I'm suggesting they've created a weapon that makes trust necessary, General Voss replied. Any species with access to quantum entanglement technology can disable the fleets of any other species. The only rational response is cooperation. Admiral Thorne was beginning to understand the full scope of humanity's gamble. They've not just offered us a weapon. They've offered us a new paradigm for galactic security. A paradigm based on the assumption that every species can be trusted with ultimate power, Ambassador Crix pointed out. A paradigm based on the assumption that ultimate power makes trust the only alternative to mutual destruction, Dr. Vortex corrected. The debate was interrupted by an urgent communication from Coalition Command. Admiral Thorne accepted the transmission, and the image of Supreme Commander Valdris appeared in the chamber. Admiral, the Supreme Commander's 4 eyes focused intently on the gathering. We've been monitoring your situation. Are the human claims verified? Yes, sir. The quantum entanglement technology is real and apparently reversible. The humans have provided complete technical specifications and demonstrated their ability to activate and deactivate the connections at will. What's their current status? The human ship Perseverance remains in our custody. Captain Chen has been remarkably cooperative. He's answered every question, provided access to all requested technical data, and submitted to full biometric scanning to verify his psychological state. And his psychological state? Dr. Vortex responded. Completely stable, sir. No signs of deception, coercion, or mental instability. If anything, he shows remarkable confidence and what humans call moral certainty about his course of action. Supreme Commander Valdris was quiet for a long moment. Admiral, I want you to understand the full implications of this situation. If we accept the human offer, we're acknowledging that they could have conquered us. If we reject it, we're essentially declaring war on a species that has demonstrated they can disable our entire fleet. There's a third option, sir, General Voss interjected. We could accept their partnership offer and work together to develop safeguards against quantum entanglement technology. That would require trusting a species that has just revealed they've been secretly developing weapons capable of galactic conquest. With respect, sir, Admiral Thorne said, they revealed this capability by surrendering it. That suggests a level of trustworthiness that goes beyond normal diplomatic relations. Supreme Commander Valdris's image flickered as he consulted with advisors off-screen. When he returned, his expression was thoughtful. General Voss, I want you to contact Human Command. Inform them that the Coalition Council will consider their proposal, but we need additional guarantees. What kind of guarantees? Sir? We want human technical advisors permanently stationed on Coalition vessels to help develop countermeasures. We want joint research facilities where both human and Coalition scientists can work together on quantum technology applications. And we want formal treaties that prevent any unilateral use of quantum entanglement weapons by any species. General Voss nodded. I believe humanity would find those terms acceptable, sir. In fact, they align perfectly with our own proposals for integration. Ambassador Crix's color had shifted to a resigned yellow. So we're negotiating surrender terms with a species that's surrendering to us? We're negotiating partnership terms with a species that has chosen cooperation over conquest, Dr. Vortex replied. There's a significant difference. Admiral Thorne looked around the chamber at the various representatives. Fear, confusion, suspicion, and hope warred in their expressions and body language. The question isn't whether we can trust humanity. The question is whether we can trust ourselves with the knowledge that traditional military power is obsolete. What do you mean? Supreme Commander Valdris asked. The humans have proven that technology exists to render conventional fleets useless. Even if we reject their offer, That knowledge is now in the galaxy. Other species will begin developing similar technologies. We can either work together to establish protocols and safeguards, or we can face a future where every species seeks the quantum advantage. Fleet Admiral Murgon's sonic patterns carried undertones of agreement. The Admiral is correct. The precedent has been set. If humans can develop quantum warfare capabilities in 3 years, how long before the Alterans or Cetaceans or Terran colonial forces develop similar weapons? My species requires time to consider these implications, Ambassador Crix announced. This decision will affect galactic politics for centuries to come. Which is exactly why it must be made carefully and inclusively, General Voss agreed. Humanity doesn't expect an immediate answer. We're willing to place the Perseverance and its crew in coalition custody while negotiations proceed. Supreme Commander Valdris made a decision that would resonate throughout galactic history. Very well, I'm declaring a coalition-wide diplomatic moratorium. All military operations are suspended pending resolution of this situation. Admiral Thorne, you'll coordinate with a joint committee to evaluate the human proposal and develop a comprehensive response. As the transmission ended, Admiral Thorne realized she was witnessing the birth of a new era in galactic relations. Humanity had forced the issue not through conquest, but through an act of trust so profound that it left their former adversaries with no choice but to respond in kind. The humans had laid down their weapon and trusted the galaxy not to destroy them for it. Now the galaxy had to decide if it was worthy of that trust. 6 months after Captain Chen's surrender, Admiral Thorne stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Joint Research Station Harmony, watching human and alien scientists work side by side in the quantum laboratories below. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Human quantum field generators powered by Cetacean sonic resonance technology, protected by Alteran crystalline shielding, and coordinated through a hybrid AI system that incorporated the logical processes of 7 different species. Admiral? Captain Chen approached, now wearing the insignia of a coalition research coordinator. The final quantum entanglement protocols are ready for testing. Any concerns from the development teams? None, ma'am. Every species contributed unique insights to the safeguards. The Alterans developed quantum encryption methods we never imagined. The Cetaceans solved harmonic resonance problems that had puzzled our best physicists. Even the Krillian hive mind offered perspectives on network security that revolutionized our approach. Thorne smiled. The transformation in galactic relations had exceeded everyone's expectations. I have to admit, Captain, when you first laid down that weapon, I thought humanity was making the biggest strategic mistake in galactic history. Many of my own people thought the same thing, Chen replied. Admiral Jackson still sends me messages questioning my sanity. What changed their minds? Results. In 6 months, humanity has gained more scientific knowledge, more technological advancement, and more cultural understanding than we achieved in our first 3 years as coalition members. Below them, a mixed group of researchers was testing a new quantum communication system that could transmit instantaneous messages across galactic distances. The technology was based on human quantum entanglement principles, enhanced by Alteran crystal resonance and stabilized through Cetacean sonic harmonics. The integration protocols are working beyond our most optimistic projections, Chen continued. Species that barely tolerated each other for centuries are now sharing fundamental research. The Terran Colonial Defense Force is training alongside Krillian warrior drones. Alteran diplomats are learning human negotiation techniques. Admiral Thorne accessed her personal communicator and reviewed the daily reports. Since the Harmony Accords were signed, interspecies cooperation had reached unprecedented levels. Trade agreements that had been stalled for decades were suddenly moving forward. Research projects that had been considered impossible due to political complications were now routine collaborations. There's something else, Chen said quietly. The psychological evaluations are showing interesting results. What kind of results? Other species are starting to adopt what our xenopsychologists call human trust protocols. The willingness to take calculated risks based on potential social benefits rather than guaranteed individual advantages. You're saying humanity is influencing how other species approach diplomacy? More than that. We're influencing how they approach existence. The concept of voluntary vulnerability as a path to strength is spreading through coalition thinking. Thorne considered this. In the months since humanity's surrender, there had been remarkable changes in galactic behavior. The Alterans had shared crystal technology they had guarded for millennia. The cetaceans had opened their deep ocean research facilities to land-based species for the first time. Even the notoriously secretive Krillians had allowed outside observers into their hive ship construction processes. Captain, do you think humanity planned this outcome? Chen was quiet for a moment. I think we hoped for it. The surrender wasn't just about the peacemaker. It was about proving that cooperation could be more powerful than conquest. But the scope of what's happened, that surprised all of us. You've essentially created a new model for galactic civilization. We've demonstrated that a new model was possible. The other species made it real. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Coalition Command. Supreme Commander Valdris's image appeared with an expression of barely controlled excitement. Admiral Captain Chen, we've received intelligence that changes everything. What kind of intelligence, sir? Thorne responded. Long-range sensors have detected what appears to be an extragalactic threat. A fleet of unknown vessels approaching from beyond our local galaxy group. Initial estimates suggest technology levels far beyond anything in Coalition records. Chen felt a chill. How long until they reach Coalition space? Approximately 8 months at their current velocity. But here's the interesting part. They've been broadcasting what our linguists believe are surrender demands in multiple languages, including several that match Coalition member species. Admiral Thorne realized the implications immediately. They've encountered and defeated other galactic civilizations. That's our assessment. And based on their technology signatures, conventional Coalition forces wouldn't stand a chance against them. Chen's expression became thoughtful. Sir, what about quantum entanglement countermeasures? That's why I'm contacting you. According to our analysis, these invaders use directed energy weapons and kinetic bombardment systems, technologies that would be vulnerable to quantum field disruption. You're suggesting the Peacemaker technology could be our primary defense? I'm suggesting it might be our only defense, but implementing quantum countermeasures across the entire Coalition fleet would require unprecedented cooperation and trust between species. Admiral Thorne understood the irony. Humanity's gift of quantum technology, offered as a gesture of peace, might be the key to galactic survival. What does Coalition Command need? We need every species to integrate quantum entanglement systems into their fleets. We need shared command protocols that allow instantaneous coordination across thousands of ships, and we need strategies that no single species could develop alone. Chen smiled grimly. In other words, you need exactly the kind of cooperation that the Harmony Accords established. Precisely. Captain, your species' decision to surrender their technological advantage may have accidentally prepared the galaxy for a threat none of us could have faced alone. Admiral Thorne felt a profound shift in her understanding of recent events. Humanity didn't just change galactic politics. You prepared us for galactic survival. We couldn't have known about this threat, Chen protested. No. But you created the conditions that allow us to respond to it. If the galaxy was still divided into suspicious, competing factions, we'd face this invasion as separate, vulnerable civilizations. Instead, we face it as a unified, technologically integrated alliance. Supreme Commander Valdris nodded approvingly. The Harmony Station will serve as our primary coordination facility. I'm authorizing the expansion of quantum entanglement research and the immediate deployment of defensive systems to all Coalition member fleets. Sir, Chen said, there's something else we should consider. Our research suggests quantum entanglement works both ways. If we can disrupt their technology, they might be able to adapt and disrupt ours. What are you proposing? A graduated response. We make contact before resorting to quantum warfare. If these invaders are refugees from some greater threat, conquest might not be their primary motivation. Admiral Thorne felt a familiar chill as she recognized the pattern. You're suggesting another act of trust. I'm suggesting we offer them the same choice we offered the Coalition. Partnership instead of conquest. Supreme Commander Valdris was quiet for a long moment. Captain, you're proposing that we approach an overwhelmingly superior invasion force and attempt to negotiate? I'm proposing that we approach them the way humanity approached the Coalition, by demonstrating that we have the power to resist, but choose cooperation instead. And if they reject our offer, then we use every quantum weapon we've developed to show them that conquest isn't worth the cost. Admiral Thorne realized that humanity was about to repeat their remarkable gamble on a galactic scale. You want to surrender to an invasion force? I want to offer an invasion force the opportunity to join a civilization that's proven cooperation is more powerful than conquest, and if they refuse, I want to demonstrate why conquest is impossible. Supreme Commander Valdris made a decision that would determine the fate of multiple galaxies. Very well, we'll prepare for both possibilities. Coalition fleets will integrate quantum defensive systems while simultaneously preparing diplomatic contact protocols. Sir, Admiral Thorne asked, what if humanity's approach doesn't work with species that aren't part of our galactic community? Chen's answer surprised everyone present. Then we'll learn whether the model we've created is strong enough to survive contact with forces that don't share our values. And if it isn't, we'll adapt. You're remarkably calm about facing potential galactic extinction. Admiral, 6 months ago, humanity faced a choice between conquest and cooperation. We chose cooperation and gained allies, technology and knowledge beyond our wildest expectations. Now the galaxy faces a similar choice on a larger scale. And if we choose correctly, then we prove that cooperation isn't just more powerful than conquest within a galaxy. We prove it's more powerful than conquest between galaxies. As Admiral Thorne watched the joint research teams below continue their work, she realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't quantum entanglement technology. It was their willingness to trust others with power and their faith that trust would be reciprocated. Captain Chen had laid down one weapon and accidentally armed the galaxy with something far more powerful. The knowledge that voluntary vulnerability could be strength, that shared power multiplied rather than divided. And that trust could be the foundation for achievements no single species could accomplish alone. Now they were about to discover whether those lessons could protect not just one galaxy, but potentially many. The real test of humanity's philosophy was approaching from beyond the stars, and for the first time in galactic history, every species would face it together. In 6 months, Captain Chen's act of surrender had transformed from a desperate gamble into the foundation of galactic unity. Soon they would learn if unity was enough to face threats that had destroyed other galaxies. But as Admiral Thorne watched humans, Alterans, Cetaceans, and Krillians working as a single team, she felt something she had never experienced in her decades of military service. She felt hope that transcended species, technology, and the vast darkness between stars. The galaxy had learned to trust. Now it was time to discover what that trust could accomplish.